GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action. Live from the GMNA News Center, this is the Lunch Break News Hour.
Good afternoon, Montreal. A second fire has ripped through the Lachine Industrial Building just days after the first blaze. Quebec just pledged $12.5 million to curb homelessness, with $5 million for our city. The REM is back on schedule. Over to you, Jeff.
This Saturday, the Old Port Waterfront will host a free outdoor yoga session at 9 a.m., open to all ages, with mats provided on a first-come basis.
Join the community Saturday morning at the Old Port for a complimentary yoga class. Starting at 9, welcoming participants of any age, no registration required.
The session is organized by Montreal Wellness Collective, taking place on the Jacques Cartier Promenade, and participants can enjoy river views while stretching.
We have plenty ahead, CJ. Let's get started with the day's news, dive right in, and explore what's happening across Montreal together. A massive power outage is sweeping the city, leaving thousands without electricity as crews race to restore service, and officials warn the situation could worsen overnight.
Service de Sécurité Incendie de Montréal responded early this morning to a blaze at an industrial building on Avenue du Pacifique in the Lachine borough. Firefighters reported that the structure was engulfed in flames, prompting the deployment of multiple units and a hose line to contain the fire. The incident marks the second fire at the same site within 3 days, following a separate blaze that broke out 2 days earlier. ZIM officials confirmed that the cause of today's fire remains under investigation, and no injuries have been reported. The building, which houses several manufacturing firms, suffered significant smoke damage, though the extent of structural impact is still being assessed. The department has urged nearby businesses to stay clear while crews continue their work, and will release further details as the investigation proceeds.
Quebec announced today a $12.5 million package to tackle homelessness across the province. Chantal Rouleau, Minister of Social Solidarity, said the funding will target both immediate shelter needs and the root causes that keep people on the streets. $5 million is earmarked for Montreal, while each of the remaining regions will receive just under $1 million. The province plans to channel the money into rapid response housing, mental health supports, and employment programs designed to break the cycle of poverty. Rouleau emphasized that the initiative complements existing municipal efforts and will be monitored for impact. Officials expect the new resources to accelerate the creation of safe, permanent homes and to strengthen preventive services throughout Quebec. The province hopes the injection will also inspire further private sector partnerships and encourage other jurisdictions to adopt similar models.
Anton Dion Chursis was announced today as the Parti Liberal du Québec candidate for the Verdun riding. The declaration came during a gathering at the Verdun Community Centre, where party organizer Charles Milliard highlighted the candidate's experience in municipal affairs and his commitment to the borough's ongoing development projects. Verdun, a historic riverside district on the island, is slated to be a focal point in the province's upcoming election campaign. Party officials said the selection reflects a strategic push to regain support in traditionally competitive areas ahead of the fall poll. Dion Charest, a former city councillor, emphasized the importance of affordable housing, transit upgrades, and preserving the neighborhood's cultural heritage. The PLQ will now begin a door-to-door canvassing effort throughout the borough as the election calendar tightens. Local volunteers are expected to join the effort next week, focusing on outreach in schools and senior centers.
Morning commuters can breathe easier as the REM electric rapid transit network is back to its regular schedule after a series of glitches earlier today. Service across all lines resumed during the morning rush, with trains running at expected frequencies between downtown and the South Shore. Officials said the interruptions were traced to a brief signaling fault and have now been cleared. Riders reported smoother boarding at key stations such as Barrie, Ucam, Lionel Gralks, and the Airport Link. The 67-station network, which links the downtown core to the airport, the South Shore, and the West Island, now runs on schedule. The agency thanked passengers for their patience and reminded them to check the REM app for any lingering alerts. With the system operating normally, commuters can expect the usual travel times as they head to work or school across the island.
The Office Québécois de la Langue Française released its annual report covering the period from 1st of April 2025 to 31st of March 2026. The agency logged 11,125 language-related complaints, marking a rise of 7% compared with the previous year. Complaints are filed through an online portal or by telephone, and each case is examined by an inspector to determine whether a violation of French language rules occurred. The report shows the majority of filings came from the retail and services sectors, followed by advertising and hospitality. This total represents the highest figure recorded since the watchdog began publishing yearly statistics. OQLF officials said the increase reflects continued vigilance among citizens and businesses in upholding provincial language standards. Enforcement actions arising from the complaints remained at levels similar to the prior year.
Later we'll break down the fire at Lachine, but first a look at Hydro-Quebec's power line to New York City. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're feeling refreshed. Let's jump into the headlines, then Jeff Laflamme will take us through today's local stories.
On June 18th, the director of the Union des Artistes was announced as the Bloc Québécois candidate for the Rose-Mon La Petite Patrie riding. The party, which is preparing for the upcoming federal election, said it will center its campaign on cultural issues in an effort to win back the seat. The candidate's background in the Performing Arts Union positions him as a figure familiar to many local cultural workers and audiences. Bloc officials indicated that emphasizing culture aligns with the district's historic support for artistic initiatives. The nomination comes as the Bloc seeks to reclaim the Rose-Mon La Petite Patrie constituency, which it previously lost. Voters in the area will now see a campaign that ties federal politics directly to the province's artistic community. For residents who attend the local theater festivals or work in production houses, the candidate's platform promises to keep cultural funding on the federal agenda.
Pierre Sayre announced on Thursday his intention to seek the NDP nomination for the Rose-Mon La Petite Patrie riding, positioning himself as the successor to longtime MP Alexander Boulris. The move comes as federal officials prepare for a wave of by-elections, with Rose-Mon La Petite Patrie expected to become a central battleground. Party insiders note that Sayre, a former municipal councillor, will need to secure support from local riding associations and the broader progressive base that has traditionally backed Boulris. Boulris, who has held the seat since the early 2000s, has not ruled out a role in the campaign but has indicated he will step aside for a new candidate. The upcoming nomination contest is set to shape the NDP's strategy in the province, as voters watch closely for any shift in the riding's political landscape.
Paramedics Union, the province's largest, dumped bags of manure on the steps of the offices of several CAQ cabinet ministers in Quebec last week, a direct protest against stalled contract talks. The action took place in the week before June 18th, when union members placed the material at the government buildings. Union officials said the stunt is meant to convey the frustration of emergency responders who feel negotiations have ground to a halt. The provincial government has not yet responded publicly to the incident. The move follows weeks of heightened tension as talks over wages and working conditions remain unresolved. Police are reviewing the incident as a possible criminal act, while both sides continue to seek a resolution. The demonstration marks the union's most visible protest since the talks stalled earlier this year.
Hydro-Quebec began delivering electricity to New York City this month under a long-term cross-border contract. The agreement, signed earlier this year, will see the Canadian utility supply power to the U.S. capital for an initial 10-year period. At the same time, Quebec is reporting a surge in domestic electricity consumption and reservoir levels that are lower than average for this time of year. Critics have questioned the timing of the export arrangement while the province's hydroelectric generation capacity faces pressure. The contract uses existing high-voltage transmission lines that link the Hydro-Quebec grid to the New York network, and the first shipments were transmitted on June 1. Provincial officials have expressed concern that exporting power during a period of unusually low reservoir levels could strain local supply. Hydro-Quebec officials said the deal will add revenue for the utility and is part of a strategy to broaden its market base.
The latest report from the Observatoire Québécois des Inégalités links Quebec's worsening housing shortage to a rise in domestic violence and an uptick in school dropouts. Researchers say that the scarcity of affordable units forces families into cramped, unstable conditions, heightening tension, and increasing the likelihood of conflict at home. At the same time, students facing frequent moves or overcrowded living spaces are more likely to abandon their studies, according to the study released on June 18. Teachers report rising absenteeism as children cope with frequent relocations, and families under housing stress often see their relationships strained. The findings come as provincial officials acknowledge a severe lack of rental options, prompting calls for broader policy measures. By quantifying the ripple effects on family safety and education, the study adds a new dimension to the ongoing debate over how to alleviate the province's housing crisis.
Now let's turn to our weather team for a quick look at this afternoon's outlook.
A gentle drizzle drapes Montreal this noon, with a cool breeze promising a comfortable afternoon ahead. On this day in history, Montreal saw its hottest temperature of 33.3 degrees Celsius back in 2020, a record that rode the tail of an unprecedented June heat wave across the province. The chillier counterpart arrived in 2013, when a sudden cold snap pushed the mercury down to 9 degrees, a rare low for midsummer. By comparison, our climate normals hover around a high of 22 degrees and a low of 15, so today's expected highs and lows sit comfortably within the usual range. Right now, Montreal is under rain with the temperature at 17 degrees, humidity near 95%, and breeze from the west at 13 kilometers per hour. As noon passes, the rain will linger while the temperature climbs to 19 degrees. By mid-afternoon, clouds dominate, and the mercury reaches 22 degrees, with wind gusts up to 29 kilometers per hour from the south, feeling brisk. Evening clears further, bringing mainly clear skies and a comfortable 20 degrees. The UV index stays low at 3, so sunburn isn't a concern. A series of severe thunderstorm watches cover much of Greater Montreal region, including Chateauguay, Laval and the island, and rainfall warnings are in effect for Mascouche, Rawdon, and St. Eustache. Keep an eye on sudden downpours and avoid open fields if lightning develops. Now let's glance at the 5-day outlook. Looking ahead, Friday brings a high of 21 degrees and a low of 15, with overcast skies and a 30% chance of rain, so you might want a light jacket for the evening. Saturday stays similar, high 21, low 14, and the clouds linger, raising the rain probability to 40%. Sunday brightens with a clear sky, high 23 and low 15, though a 45% chance of showers suggests a brief afternoon sprinkle. Monday returns to overcast conditions, high 22, low 16, and the rain risk climbs to 55% across the region. Tuesday offers a pleasant stretch of mainly clear weather, high 23, low 16, and a modest 30% chance of rain. Expect the temperature swing to stay moderate through the week.
Coming up, traffic updates, a preview of tonight's concert lineup, and the Canadiens' hunt for Kent Hughes. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
All major arteries are moving freely this morning. Autoroute 6 runs at near free flow speed, with no reported slowdowns. Boulevard St. Laurent and Rue Shairbrook show light traffic, well under normal peak levels. The only thing to watch is the gradual buildup expected after school dismissals on the east side, especially along Rue de la Montagne and Avenue du Parc. By mid-afternoon, the southbound lanes of Autoroute 15 may begin to thicken as commuters head home. Downtown core will likely see a modest rise in vehicles near Place des Arts, but still well below rush hour thresholds. No transit strikes or delays are reported, and the metro lines are operating on schedule. Expect the usual increase in bus crowding around the University corridor after lunch, but service remains on time. In short, you're clear for now. Just anticipate a typical post-lunch swell, particularly on the main east-west routes.
Cirque du Soleil's Echo exhibition is now at Time Out Market Montreal, offering a behind-the-scenes look at the troupe's most iconic moments, perfect for a quick cultural fix during lunch. Fans spot rare costume sketches and video loops that reveal the craft behind each aerial act. Les Premiers Vendredis, Canada's biggest street food festival, rolls through the city this weekend with more than 40 food trucks and live entertainment, all free to wander, ideal for a bite-sized adventure. From Asian noodles to Caribbean tacos, stalls turn the streets into a global tasting tour, and live music keeps the vibe lively. Legendary Dobie and Andy have opened a pop-up inside Time Out Market, bringing the famed Chinatown barbecue to downtown, so you can savor those smoky ribs without the trek. The menu highlights their char siu pork and crispy duck, served with craft sodas that echo the market's eclectic spirit. That's the lineup for today, and the city keeps humming with flavor and wonder. And now here's Jason with sports.
Here's the latest on Montreal's hockey headlines as the off-season heats up. Sportsnet reports the Canadiens are weighing Kent Hughes as a possible second-line center before July 1st. With the draft 8 days away, General Manager Eric Engels addressed the question in the latest mailbag. noting the trade market remains active but no decision has been confirmed. According to Habs Eyes on the Prize, assistant coach Pascal Vincent is leaving the La Val Rocket to join the Seattle Kraken in a similar role. Canadiens president of hockey operations, Jeff Gorton, issued a statement acknowledging the move, highlighting the organization's respect for Vincent's contributions. CBC Sports NHL confirms Montreal captain Nick Suzuki captured the Frank J. Selk Trophy for defensive excellence, while teammate Cole Caulfield earned the Lady Byng Trophy for sportsmanship. The league announced the awards on Friday, marking a notable achievement for the Habs as the season concludes.
La Nadia, the women's sports bar in Oshel has thrown its doors open again after weeks of closure, this time with a bright new outdoor patio. The restaurant, Montreal's only gathering spot dedicated to women fans, serves up a menu of comfort food and craft drinks while broadcasting everything from hockey to soccer. The fresh patio invites neighborhoods to linger under the sky, turning game night into a community celebration. Owner Samira says the reopening is more than a business move. It's a statement that every fan deserves a place to cheer. Local families and student groups are already filling the patio, turning each match into a shared experience. In a city that thrives on inclusion, La Nadia reminds us that sport belongs to everyone. And later a feel-good story as La Nadia, the beloved women's sports bar in Oshel swings its doors open again.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From city hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMna for the local Sunset Montreal's evening newscast.
A vibrant summer celebration hits St. Laurent this week as the Orchestre Symphonique de Montréal takes the stage for a free outdoor concert at Parc Marcel Lauren on August 6. Thousands are expected to gather for music, food trucks, and family fun under the city's summer sky. Carl Dumont is there. Carl Dumont.
Thanks, CJ Waterhouse. I'm standing on the freshly cut grass of Parc Marcel Lauren, the scent of summer roses mixing with the faint aroma of street food vendors as families spread blankets beneath a string of glowing lanterns. Stage is a sleek wooden platform, bathed in amber light, where the Orchestre Symphonique de Montréal readies its instruments for the free evening concert scheduled for August 6 at 7:30 p.m. Musicians tune their strings while children chase bubbles, and a low murmur of anticipation ripples through the crowd. Conductor Raphael Payer steps forward, baton in hand, and host Andre Robitaille greets the audience with a warm smile, reminding everyone this performance celebrates St. Laurent Day. The energy feels electric, a reminder that music can turn a public park into a shared living room for the whole neighborhood. For many families, this concert turns a regular summer evening into a shared memory of music and community. Carl Dumont virtually at Parc Marcel Lauren.
On a bright Tuesday morning on St. Laurent Boulevard, the hum of the market mixed with fresh bagel aromas as a modest office on the third floor opened its doors to a new guest. Charles Hudon, a senior officer of the Sûreté du Québec, stepped into the Quebec Liberal Party's headquarters, his badge glinting under soft light. He was there not to enforce the law, but to lend his investigative experience to a party eager to hear everyday Montreal concerns. In the brief meeting that followed, Hudon recalled a cold case solved after a citizen tipped off a police officer over coffee. Party staff, many volunteers from the neighborhood nodded, reminded that real change starts when expertise meets community voices. By the time he left, Hudon agreed to help shape an outreach program that pairs seasoned investigators with local activists, ensuring every complaint is heard and every story investigated. It's a small step, but one that turns a political office into a bridge between Badge and Boulevard, and that gives us all a reason to feel a little more hopeful today.
In the heart of the plateau on a Thursday afternoon, the office of the Quebec Electoral Commission became an unexpected stage. Kevin Boussac-Char, the commission's mapmaker, slipped a note onto his desk and announced his resignation, citing the province's redistricting plan. Within minutes, a small crowd of neighbors, students from a nearby college, an elderly couple who run a corner bakery, and a group of volunteers from a local civics club gathered outside, their curiosity turning to conversation. One of the students, notebook in hand, asked Boussac-Char why he chose to step down rather than stay silent. He answered that a map is more than lines on paper. It is the live geography of families, schools, and markets. The baker, who had watched the same street change names over decades, nodded, recalling how a single new lane had altered delivery routes for his sourdough. That dialogue stretched into a town hall, with residents sharing stories of how electoral boundaries shape their daily lives. The moment reminded everyone that civic engagement can begin with a single act. In Montreal, where neighborhoods pulse with history and hope, A resignation can spark a larger conversation about belonging.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on the lunch break. Tonight's look at Hydro-Quebec sending power to New York City highlighted our province's growing energy reach. We appreciate your trust and look forward to bringing you more insight tomorrow. Stay tuned for tomorrow's deep dive into the latest developments across the city. See you then.